A 2013 report found that athletes who entered college in 2005 graduated at rates 18% lower than non athletes. Hi, my name is Cheyanne, and today I'm going to be talking to you about problems with athletes and why they continue to fail, as well as how many athletes actually graduate college and what degrees they graduate with, and then lastly, how they get away with things like doing drugs and or teachers and professors passing them for eligibility. Athletes have many things going for them just because they are an athlete, but is that fair to others who are non athletes? Statistically, it's not fair because these athletes are getting scholarships to major in worthless degrees, and some don't even graduate on time, and some don't graduate at all. The NCAA gives out $2.7 billion each year, falling second only to the federal government. What many don't know is that along with athletes getting scholarships to pay for their school, most don't even meet the requirement to get into the school, which is where colleges use special admits. Of the 55 public schools in the sixth biggest sports conference, 31 reported having special admits, 16 reported having none, and the other 8 didn't provide the information. With special admit, it allows the students to go to the school no matter their SAT or ACT scores and no matter their GPA. So even though college has a set admissions requirement where they won't look at your application unless you meet those scores, for athletes, they disregard that and they use the special admits, and it doesn't matter what their scores are or what their GPA is. So they're separate from a normal student that's not an athlete. Essentially, this is not fair to other students who are not athletes who don't get into that school because of their scores. The athletes should not get special privileges, and they should have to meet the admission requirement in order to receive a scholarship and to be able to attend. Lastly, these athletes are required to only keep a 2.0 GPA. So not only do they get in without meeting the requirements, but they're only required to keep a 2.0 GPA. This is essentially why these students continue to fail, because they are given a scholarship to get in when they didn't even meet the requirements, and they're getting an easy way out of actually the admissions process of being accepted into college. Furthermore, following the special admissions for athletes, when these athletes get to this school where they didn't even truly want to go or truly get into, they major in useless degrees. Athletes are now used to taking the easy way out, so they continue to do so by majoring in the easy majors with less work so they can focus more on their sport. These athletes are not going to college to get a degree, but rather to play their sport. High school also plays a role in this because teachers in high school also give athletes grades they didn't deserve so that they are eligible. For example, I had a teacher, my English teacher, and he gives the athletes grades. When they fail, he'll give them a better grade so that they are still passing, because he said that if not, the coaches will come in there and say, hey, why are you failing my kid? I need them for this game, and now they can't play because you failed them. So he said that most teachers pass the athletes so that they don't have to hear from the coach. So that's just one of my personal experiences. So I've seen it firsthand. Therefore, they focus on eligibility rather than education. And with everything that I have previously mentioned, this always gives these athletes a mindset of, I can do whatever I want and get away with it because I'm an athlete. This has become true with education as well as law. Many athletes have gotten away with things that non-athletes wouldn't be able to. This could be because they're not as known. I know like a bunch of like football players, the Ray Rice stuff, different things like that, it was a bigger deal because they were known. So that could be something that plays a role in it. Lastly, as I previously mentioned, about athletes' mindsets doing what they want because they're special privilege, they start getting in trouble and will continue to get in trouble because they can always get out of it. That's something that they've built up. That's something that they've been getting used to. So you'll see a pattern here of they're always getting out of things. They're always getting out of trouble. Somehow, some way, they get out of it. This goes, many high schools are now drug testing their athletes randomly I know MISD is starting next year, and there are so many athletes that get caught or fail drug tests, but the team keeps it quiet so that that player can still play. Um, for me, it does make me upset to let them continue play with no consequences, but the big problem is, sorry, I blinked out. The big problem is health as far as them continuing to play while they're doing drugs. It can cause many different health problems. They could pass out, they could have a stroke. There's so many different things that could go wrong when mixing drugs and sports like that. But they continue to do it, and they know there will be no consequences sport-wise, but health-wise, there essentially will be later on in the future. So, in my summary, I talked about why does the athletes statistically continue to fail, as well as how many athletes graduate and with what degrees. And lastly, how everything adds up to a mentality of being able to get away with certain things just for being an athlete. I hope y'all enjoyed my speech, and I just want everyone to know that this was not to target one person or just to talk down upon athletes, because I have been an athlete. I've done track, I've done cross country. People say cheerleading isn't a sport. I did cheerleading. So I've been through this, and I've seen it firsthand. But it's to bring up a situation at hand ending badly for some athletes. Notice that I said this speech does not regard every athlete. We are not all the same.